I'm yet to give this video a proper watch, but I fundamentally and strongly think that AC3 is very underrated. Unity will forever be the most underrated to me, and as the main best, I think back now, so underrated. Take all the back over all well-developed characters. This game has OEF chronological gods and adaptations. No. None of these games are underrated. I think the modern Assassin's Creed community forgets about why certain games have been hated and why they've been disliked for so long. Unity was hated on because of the bugs that have not been fixed and a mediocre story. Rogue was hated on because of how much it inadequately represented the Assassin and Templar Brotherhood. AC3 was hated on because of how little Connor developed throughout the story and how stoic he was. All of these games deserve to not be liked. They have their problems, and their downsides are much more daunting than their upsides. However, there's only one game in the franchise that is not deserving of the hate it gets. This game is arguably one of the best in the franchise, and rarely anyone ever talks about it anymore. This game shaped the way for open world gaming, and had the best gameplay Ubisoft ever put out as a company. This game, the first Assassin's Creed. The game had been revolutionary and had been liked in its time of release. It's a short 9-hour game about the Third Crusade and the Hashashins, better known as the Assassins. There's a multitude of reasons why this game is underrated, but the biggest reason is because of how it's been forgotten in the sea of newer AC games. Why was it forgotten? And how does it have the best gameplay in the series? Now, before I start on this video, I just want to make a quick note to please like and subscribe. It would help me out a lot and help me continue making videos like this. Now, without further ado, let's get into why the first Assassin's Creed is the most underrated. 2002. Ubisoft as a company was falling off. The star franchise Prince of Persia was starting to decline, and although there may have been a reason, most suspect it was because of staleness. So the solution was to take an entirely new approach to the franchise, but still keep the name. They wanted a new character with a rich and interesting historical setting. The name of this prototype? Prince of Persia Assassins. Yeah, I know it sounds goofy, but this was the actual name for what will later be known as Assassin's Creed. The gameplay was shown off and it would look so ominous and so cold, unlike anything we've ever seen from the franchise. The light blues and whites were drastically different from the dark blues and yellows that we've seen before from the franchise. Prince of Persia Assassins would take parkour but add a new twist to it. The parkour for Prince of Persia was already very impressive, so the developers had to think of a way to expand on it until they found the perfect opportunity no one thought would be possible during that time. Have a maneuverable, parkourable character in an open setting. Prince of Persia Assassins was the most ambitious title Ubisoft ever had, and Ubisoft had all their money on it. They couldn't risk having the name of a dying franchise stick on the most technically impressive game of the time period, so they removed Prince of Persia and just made it into Assassin. The game would center around the faith the Assassins had into their sacred 3 tenets, which I'll get into later, so they named it Assassin's Creed. The game was planning on having it all: parkourable cities with a vast and open space in the middle field with side activities, and a deep story that would adapt the true story of the Hashashins while showing us the real historical events that took place during the Crusades. The game would also have no minimap and have you use your skill to track down informers using dialogue from the side characters. However, the game had to release soon, and the devs weren't confident in the lack of minimap since they know that some players wouldn't be able to wrap their head around such a difficult system, and side missions were cut due to lack of time. One thing that wasn't cut, however, was the biggest selling point of the game, which would be the mysterious and quite frankly terrifying modern day. This was one of gaming's biggest mysteries when the first Assassin's Creed trailer came out, because it showed a bunch of advanced technology in a trailer about prehistoric times. It made no sense, but that's what kept the players going. Why is there technology in a game about history, was the question, and the answer was Desmond Miles. Desmond Miles was a regular bartender until a company named Abstergo kidnapped him and forced him onto a machine because of his genetic print. His ancestor happened to be the main character of the first Assassin's Creed game, and Abstergo needed his DNA to find an artifact. They would find it through the Animus, a machine that read DNA and displays a simulation of the user's ancestor. The artifact and what it does got unveiled slowly and through carefully written dialogue between Warren Vidic, the leader of the Animus project, and Desmond. It isn't until the second to last modern day bit in the game where it fully gets unveiled that the artifact is a device from a prehistoric civilization used to control minds. What's so great about this modern day is that both Desmond and his ancestor Altair ibn Ahad learned of the artifact and its features at the same exact time. After the Assassin Grandmaster Al-Mualim explains what the apple can do to Altair, Vidic explains what the apple can do to Desmond. However, despite this, both stories have different purposes. Desmond's story happens because he's helping Vidic rule the world, and Altair's story happens because he's helping his master get rid of the people who are trying to rule the world. Both motives contradict each other, but also help each other out, which is why I think the modern day for this game is continuously unmatched. Altair's story itself is also amazing, as it goes over the tale of growth and what it truly means to be an assassin. In the beginning of the game, it's heard that he's the youngest assassin to ever achieve achieve the rank of the Master, and because of that, he's arrogant. He refuses to comply with any of the tenets of the Assassin's Creed because he sees himself as above them. He breaks the 3 fundamental rules of the Creed, in which he didn't stay his blade from the innocent, he didn't hide in plain sight, and he compromised the Brotherhood. This arrogance caused a surprise attack in Masyaf, and a young Malik, who had barely escaped from the attack because of Altair's lack of stealth. His actions compromised the Brotherhood, and it went against the hiding tenet, so his master planned an execution on him, only to realize that he had a greater meaning. His master had ordered him to kill all the Templar Knights, the secret group that had plotted to take the apple and rule over Earth. Each Templar in this game has their own reasons for joining the order, and most of them are good, or at the very least, understandable. There's no Templar in which you can't understand their motive or why they do what they do, even the scummiest of them. I think many later Assassin's Creed games failed to actually establish an understandable character. The Templar Order shouldn't be an excuse for someone wanting to take over the world. It should be an excuse on why someone wants peace. The whole purpose of Templars is to take over Earth so there can be a proper order, whereas the Assassins strive for peace, but they know that the way they go about it can never bring true peace. This is the struggle and philosophical battle that Altair has to endure during the first Assassin's Creed, and he grows rebellious of his master.
Each man I'm sent to kill speaks cryptic words to me. Each time I come to you and ask for answers. Each time you give only riddles in exchange, but no more.
Who are you to say no more?
I'm the one who does the killing. If you want it to continue, you'll speak straight with me for once.
Tread carefully, boy. I do not like your tone.
And I do not like your deception.
I have offered you a chance to restore your lost honor.
Not lost. Taken. By you. And then you've sent me to fetch it again like some damn dog.
It seems I'll need to find another. A shame. You showed great potential.
I think if you had another, you'd have sent him long ago. You said the answer to my question would arise when I no longer needed to ask it. So I will not ask. I demand you tell me what binds these men.
This is possibly the greatest character development in Assassin's Creed. It's the moment Altair truly understands what assassins fight for, which is truth, no matter how much they have to fight for it. Altair before this was blindly following Al-Mualim's orders, exactly what a Templar would have done, as they believe in strict order. Instead, Altair acted as his own assassin, and demanded truth from a man who's unpredictable. Altair grows exponentially, and learns from every single one of his targets. He sees himself in all the people he kills, and grows because of it. In the end, he ends up becoming a better assassin than Al-Mualim, the master himself. The story for Assassin's Creed 1 also ties in heavily with the gameplay. Altair slowly relearns everything there is to know about being an assassin, and you can learn new abilities that a member of the Order would regularly use. You learn with Altair, and slowly your skills by the end are leagues ahead of how your skills were in the beginning. Another gameplay feature that tied the story and the game was the notoriety system. Many people know of the notoriety system in Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, and many fans would say that there's no such thing in Assassin's Creed 1, but you'd be mistaken. If anything, the notoriety system in this game is probably the best in the franchise. What it does differently is that it ties itself and the story. The city grows much more aware of the man in the white hood because of how much your killings are being made public, and the guards will grow continuously and more aware of what you're doing. This is probably the smartest and greatest way they could have ever implemented a notoriety system that feels actually alive, whereas Assassin's Creed 2 would have an entire city forget you if it just tore off a piece of paper. The setting and atmosphere of this game is impeccable, and probably one of the best in the franchise. You have 4 settings in total: Masyaf, the home of the assassins; Acre, run by the Christian army; Damascus, run by the Saracen army; and Jerusalem, run by both. Each setting has its own architecture, lighting, NPCs that make the places feel like their own. Acre feels very cold and unwelcoming. Damascus feels very hot and heavy, and Jerusalem feels very peaceful. The atmospheres are nice, but what makes them cool is the sci-fi feel to them, and the Animus overlay. Every time you finish a mission or get a collectible, the game boots up a very long and unfitting sound. It does its job in constantly reminding you that yeah, you're not in 1191, and you're not Altair. You're Desmond Miles. No other game has managed to actually accomplish this because every other installment wanted the character to be immersed in the ancestor, not the descendant. Assassin's Creed 1 doesn't care. It was basically an indie game when it first came out, and it basically had no expectations to live up to. The game isn't even fully open world, contrary to the other games. It's a linear piece with an open environment, which is why there's nothing for the player to properly interact with that's role playable. The setting is just a backdrop, nothing more or nothing less. It isn't afraid to try new things, which is most prevalent in stealth, which is probably the most unique and interesting stealth system of all time, called the social stealth. This gameplay feature was meant to service the narrative of Altair following the assassin mandate, hide in plain sight. In super imperialistic cities, full of guards that are out to look for you, it's almost impossible to run away from them. So instead of trying to run to a place with no guards, the game encourages you to find places where the guards would expect a non-assassin to be in, which is coincidentally right in front of them. The traditional assassin outfit looks like a roaming monk, and this works great with Altair. Whenever there are a group of guards out to get you, you can hold your hands together as if you're praying and fool them into thinking you're a monk. However, this won't always work if you're caught. If you are caught, your best bet is to be on a bench near a group of actual monks, a rooftop garden, or haystack. This system is great, especially during the chases because of how badass it makes you feel. I mean, you're basically right in front of them and they don't know where you are, which kind of achieves the assassin fantasy very well. However, a lot of people take issue with the stealth system because the game doesn't offer you the option of physical stealth, like hiding behind objects. Although I would usually agree, this game doesn't require such things. The level design of each assassination goes so well with the stealth system, it makes the game so unique. It's like peanut butter and jelly, fries and ketchup, or Ubisoft and sexual misconduct. Joke aside, a lot of levels in AC1 require social stealth, such as Garnier de Naplu's assassination, where you need to infiltrate the madman's hospital through acting like a monk. However, there are moments where stealth isn't the only option, and where the combat kicks in. Assassin's Creed 1 probably has the most purposefully difficult combat system in the franchise. I hear a lot of people complaining about how it's too counter kill based, but this is false. You can't counterattack a lot of the enemies, and you will get punched for attempting to do so. So your best route would be either to combo kill, dodge an attack, grab and throw onto the floor or to a scaffolding, or try to land a hidden blade counter. It's so intricate, but also does its best to promote stealth instead of brute attacking. The game only gives you 3 weapons. The sword, which is amazing for going up against big guys, but sucks at ending fights quickly. The knife, which is amazing for going against multiple people, and can one-shot any guy if they're far enough, but they suck up at going against big guys. And there's the hidden blade, which instantly kills as soon as the counter attack hits, but is super hard to actually land the counterattack. I want to discuss the main complaint with this game, however, which is the mission design. I have a lot of friends who refuse to appreciate this game because of how the game approaches storytelling, and while I do understand it, I think it's greatly exaggerated. Like, look, the game is 9 hours long, and it doesn't force you to do all of the missions. Each informer mission takes you around 10 to 20 minutes max to do so, and although they are repetitive, each tests your skill and gets progressively harder. It challenges you so you can prepare for the final assassination, but I do understand the dislike for it. This is probably why I recommend a lot of the newcomers to start off with AC2 instead of 1, since the Ezio trilogy is way more familiar when it comes to design than the first game. Moving on, the first Assassin's Creed exceeds every other game in the franchise on a technical level, only by a small margin. I do think combat and setting are arguably the greatest in the franchise, but there are many other games in the series that meet its quality by a small margin. However, there's an aspect of this game that make me love this game so much. This aspect is the reason why I argue with myself on whether Assassin's Creed 2 or 1 is my favorite game in the franchise. This aspect makes me consider AC1 to be the technical marvel that it is, and this aspect is a free running system. Now, I hear you all, oh Spirit, the parkour was actually perfected in Unity where Arnold does spinny ballerina loops and jumps like a fucking mutant. Shut the fuck up, no. This game is so fucking great when it comes to parkour that I can talk about it for hours and not get bored. A lot of my praise for this system is generally true for AC2 as well, but this game has a few small advantages that make all the difference. Let me explain in total why I love this traversal system and why I regard it to be gaming's best. The parkour for this game consists of strict button and stick inputs. The game doesn't hold your hand and has proper consequences for not performing moves correctly, and although this may seem off-putting at first, the same applies if you traverse it properly. If you pull off your side ejects, if you cancel your animation with another, if you know your path, this game is arguably the best looking parkour system. It punishes you for taking easy paths, like having to climb up a building be long, or hurting your health bar whenever you try to land level ground through jumping down. It can be the worst looking or best looking parkour system of all time, and it all depends on you, the player. It doesn't act on its own, and it isn't a single bit inconsistent. It's easy to understand, but hard to master. The setting for this game is also perfectly made for the parkour system. Every time Ubisoft pumps out a new AC movement system, the first games are often the best ones to maneuver around. The developers don't try to work off the parkour system to make the setting, they work off the setting to make the parkour system. And same goes for AC1. Going around from one point to another feels like butter, and there's always a route to go with the parkour. There's never a dead end, and it feels like you can hop around and find routes to parkour for ages. Just look at this picture. You can name at least 5 different maneuvers you can do in just this location, and it's all made on purpose. Everything is so intricate and goes so well together. Many people who have played the second Assassin's Creed game are probably questioning why I don't consider Assassin's Creed 2 to be the most technically impressive game. After all, the quicker climbing is probably better, right? Well, some may think that, but I don't agree. Assassin's Creed 2 never had a proper parkour down mechanic, and your best bet was always jumping on people or jumping on haystacks. Assassin's Creed 1 had the best parkour down mechanic the franchise had ever seen. And no, Unity is not better in this regard either. It's vaulting, and it's possibly one of the greatest moves you can ever execute in this game if done right, which is insanely difficult. Using this move requires a lot of experience in knowing which place is low enough or which beam is close enough for you to vault onto. But it's so stylish that it's worth all the effort. The whole parkour system's difficulty encourages the player to get better, but also to enjoy the experience. Now, I want to wrap up the video by talking about how much this game really means to me. I started off the franchise with the second game, and I played this game immediately after finishing Revelations, and I disliked it intensely. The repetitiveness threw me off a lot, and I still understand why people don't like this game because of the mission design, but I ask that we appreciate it. AC1 did so much right that almost every game in the franchise couldn't even come close to achieving, especially in the gameplay department. I hope you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and I thank you all for watching this video. Peace out, you guys. Bye.